Hello friends, today we are going to discuss question answers of a chapter that we have discussed previously, the 3 questions. We are going to discuss the question answers of this chapter. So let us start. So the first question is, why was the king advised to go to the magicians? So the first question was that what was the right time to do anything? So everybody suggested different ways. So one of the ways that the king was advised was to look into the future. So in order to look into the future, he was advised to seek to go to the magicians, because magicians could do the same and help him decide the right time for doing anything. Next question. Now the next question is, whose advice did the people say would be important to the king? Now the second question of the king was that which people should he listen to? So some of them advised the king that he should listen to the counselors, the wise men. Some of them, yet another group of people were there who asked him to listen to the doctors, to the priests, yet some other told him to listen to the soldiers. So these were some of the suggestions he got in response to his second questions. Now the third question is, what suggestions were made in answer to the third question? Now to the third question, some suggested that the most important activity for the king to do was science. Some said it was fighting. Some said it was religious activities like worshipping the gods. So there were different answers. Such answers were there for this question. Okay, so then moving on to the next question. Did the wise men win the reward? If not, why? What happened? The king promised to pay a large sum of money to somebody who answered 3 of the questions. There were many people who answered the questions, but what happened? The king was not satisfied with any of their answers, so he did not pay any reward. He chose that he is not going to pay any reward to anybody. Okay, let's move on to the next question. And the next question is, how did the king and the hermit help the wounded man? Now what happened when the bearded and the wounded man came? His stomach was bleeding. So what the king did, the king dressed his wound with the handkerchief in order to stop the bleeding. But the bleeding was not stopping. So the king redressed his wound until the bleeding stopped. After the bleeding stopped, the king and the hermit took the bearded man inside the hut and laid him on the bed so he could sleep well. Okay, so that's how both of them helped the bearded man. Now next question is, the first part of the next question says that who was the bearded man? Now we come to know by the text that the bearded man was king's enemy. How did he become king's enemy? What happened was, king killed the bearded man's brother. So he was there to take a revenge from the king. So he was the king's enemy. Okay, why did he ask for king's forgiveness? Now the bearded man, later in the next morning, you see that he was asking for forgiveness from the king. Now why he was asking for forgiveness? He was asking for forgiveness because he came with an intention to kill the king, whereby he was hiding in a place and waiting for the king to return back from the hermit's place to his palace so that he could kill the king on his way back. But what happened? The king did not go back, so therefore he wanted to kill the king. But the irony of the story is that he himself got wounded and king was the person who saved his life. So that is why he was asking for forgiveness from the king. I hope it's clear to you. We'll move on to the next question. And the last question is, the king forgave the bearded man. What did he do to show his forgiveness? So first of all, we know that king forgave the bearded man. Yes, he forgave the bearded man and he made peace with his enemy, and he was very happy about it. The king was very happy to make peace with his enemy. Now what did he do to show his forgiveness? So first of all, he promised the bearded man that his doctors and servants will be there with the bearded man to take care of him until he gets well. Okay, so this was the first thing the king did. And the second thing the king did, he promised to pay back his property. The property the king had seized earlier, he promised to return him the property back. So these were all the question answers from this chapter. I hope that these are clear to you. So we'll be meeting in our next video. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.